Next reason, the foreign inflow in terms of remittances and all, it actually reduced. Foreign inflow decreased. Export decreased. See, this is actually a paradox. When rupee depreciating, what we have discussed, actually exporters will be incentivized and foreigners will get more items. So actually export would have been promoted. So it's actually a paradox. What is a paradox? The paradox is paradox of, I'll try to explain this, paradox of decreasing export despite depreciation of rupee. It should be the opposite, right? When rupee depreciating, export should be promoted, but this is a paradox. Similarly, paradox of increase in trade deficit despite depreciation of rupee. See, when rupee depreciating, trade deficit would be reduced, because what happened? Rupee depreciated, so export will be increased and import will be reduced, because importers, it will be very expensive, and exporters, they are going to get more. So export would have been promoted, import would have been reduced. So in that way, trade deficit has to be contained. Okay, it should have been reduced, but instead it is actually increased. So that is also a paradox. Similarly, when I'm talking about this paradox of increase in current account deficit despite depreciation of rupee, this is actually connected to the second one only. All are actually connected, all are related to exports. Now, what do you think? What are the reasons? So this is also a mains question. Paradox of decreased export despite depreciation of rupee. Why this is actually happening? Because theoretically, what should be the ideal condition? When depreciation of rupee is there, exports would be increased and import would be decreased. So trade deficit would be decreased, current account deficit would be decreased, export should be increased. So the opposite should have been happen, and that's why paradox. Okay, this was there in the economic survey. This was expected as a mains question, and you can still expect this as a question. The reasons are, we'll write the reasons, we'll try to understand the reason. The first one is actually high inflation. Okay, see, when high inflation is there, when you talk about foreigners buying from India, because of depreciation the price may be low for them, but because of the inflation here, domestic inflation, the price may be high. So if you talk about NER and REER, which I'm going to talk about, nominal effective exchange rate and real effective exchange rate. Real effective exchange rate will be giving you the actual value, whether it is expensive for foreigners or not. I'll be discussing that shortly in this session itself if possible, or in the next session I'll cover that. So it will be adjusted after inflation. That will actually tell you whether it is expensive or not. Actually, the foreigners are getting expensive products from India because of inflation. Despite the fact that depreciation is there, high inflation actually making the prices of goods are not competitive. Okay, so that is one of the reason. That is what actually hindered inflation. Secondly, that actually hindered the export. Secondly, global economic slowdown. Okay, so this also affected the export. Okay, third one, devaluation of renminbi or yuan and other currencies. So what will happen? Devaluation. If you remember in the last session, I've talked about beggar thy neighbor policy. So one country is taking advantage at the cost of other country is the policy. So here, when China is devaluing, what will happen? China's export will be maintained or it will be increased. They are doing it for different purpose, maybe to maintain the same export level or to increase the export. They don't want to increase the export. They basically want to maintain their export only. But what actually will happen? When China is doing this, it is actually going to increase the trade deficit and current account deficit of European countries as well as US. Okay, so what they do, ultimately their domestic industry will also suffer and it will affect their growth. So what they do is they will go for protectionist measures. But when they adopt the protectionist measures, they cannot adopt only for China. They will do it for all the countries. Okay, so because you cannot discriminate any country, which is an agreement under WTO. So if you need to go for it, you have to go for it equally for every country. So because of that protectionist measures which is actually adopted by US, some genuine exporters from India will also suffer. Okay, so we can't export to US because of this protectionist measure. So I'll write that here. 4 is actually protectionist policies due to this reason by US. Protectionist policies due to devaluation of renminbi by US, EU, etc. So I hope you understood how we are also affected because of this. Okay, so our export are less because of this protectionist policy. Why this protectionist policy? It is because devaluation of China. So I hope you understood how devaluation of China is actually affecting export of India, okay, and other countries as well. So next fifth one, import based exported commodities become expensive due to depreciation of rupee. Okay, so the capital goods, gems, jewels, jewelry products and the petroleum products and all these are becoming very expensive. So that is because of depreciation of rupee, because when you are importing you need to pay huge when rupee depreciated. Okay, so that is also one of the reason. Now one important point which I want to tell you is actually sixth one, that can be asked as a separate question, J curve effect. Okay, so J curve effect I'll demonstrate you with the curve itself. So if let's suppose at this point you're devaluing, okay, so the devaluation has happened at this time, okay, and this is your trade balance, okay, export minus import. So let's say as per our previous discussion in the first session of this module, I've told you our trade deficit was $130 billion in 2015-16 BOP, okay, or economic survey. So $130 billion is your trade deficit. Okay, so now if you calculate, if you devalue at this time, what will happen with this trade balance? So this is trade deficit 130 billion. Oh, okay, so trade balance means minus 130 billion. So at this point, if you devalue, what will actually happen here? Devalue means now let's suppose rupee is 67. When you're devaluing, it becomes 70, right? It will become 70. So when you devalue this, what do you think? This 130 billion, if you convert as per 67 and if you convert as per 70, which one is more? When you devalue, your trade deficit is actually increasing. That means your trade balance is going more negative. Trade deficit increasing means going more negative. So immediately you won't get any advantage. It will go negative, but short term it will but after some time it will pick up. How? Because when you're devaluing, further imports will become expensive, so import will reduce and exporters will get advantage, so export will increase, so automatically it will pick up. But as soon as when you're devaluing, this is actually what is going to happen, right? Let's suppose $100 is your trade deficit, okay? So when the price of a dollar is 67 rupee, $100 means 6,700 is your trade deficit now. But if you're devaluing to 70, there's going to be 7,000 as your trade deficit. That means trade deficit is increased. That means trade balance I'm talking about, it is going more negative, 7,000 negative. That's why I've gone for this curve going negative. But then it will pick up. Why? Because import will reduce gradually and export will increase. So trade balance will go to positive. Okay. So this is what J, you can see here. This looks like J, right? This is J. So that's why J curve effect. So I hope this is clear for all of you. Now if you take for example two countries A, B. A is having a fixed exchange system and B is having a flexible exchange system. So fixed means here devaluation. Let's suppose 10% devaluation happened. Here 10% depreciation happened. Okay. Okay. Now what do you think? Which country export will be more? Or export will increase in A or increase in B, or more in A or more in B, or both will be equal? See, 10% in both case. So when depreciation or devaluation is there, exports will increase. But will that be equal in both? It won't be equal, because you see here it is flexible, so everything depends on market. So this 10% depreciation is now may appreciate also. So when if it is appreciating, the exporters will not get advantage. Okay, but here it is fixed. So exporters are very sure and clear that they will get the advantage till the time it is revalued or the policy is changed. So they have clear idea about what is actually going to happen. So I would say exports in this country A will be much more than B, and that is a policy that China is actually following. Okay, so because exporters have a very clear idea. But here appreciation can happen at any time because it is all about floating market. Okay, so I hope this is clear for all of you. So if there is a question, devaluation or depreciation, which is more effective to promote exports? Now, no need to have any doubt here. Devaluation is more effective. The reason is this. I hope you understood. Now let's see some measures adopted by RBI. RBI, or you can write also government also, because RBI is part of government. RBI is not a bank, even though you call it as bank of central bank of banks. Okay, but RBI is part of government. So RBI or government measures. Okay, 1, restriction on imports, especially gold. Okay, so we have discussed about inflation index bonds, sovereign gold bond. Okay, and then we have talked about gold monetization scheme. All these things we have discussed. Then outward remittances ceiling decreased because that lead to dollar outflow, so demand for dollar, so that is actually decreased. Then contractionary monetary policy, why contractionary monetary policy? Money supply should be reduced, so what will happen? Demand of dollar will reduce. When you don't have money, you won't demand dollar, right? So contractionary monetary policy. If expansionary monetary policy, what will happen? Money supply will increase, demand for dollar will increase, so what will happen? Rupee will depreciate. Okay, so contractionary, all these are measures. Which among the following are the measures can be taken or are taken? All you should have a very clear idea. Contractionary monetary policy will reduce money supply. When money supply is not there, you won't demand dollar, because demand is all about willingness and ability. You should be able to buy. Able means you should have the money with you. Okay, so money supply reduce means your ability will reduce even though you are willing to buy dollar. Okay, so then liberalization of foreign investment policy, because more investment will come, inflow of forex will come. So liberalization of foreign investment policy. Okay, so what will happen? Supply of dollar increase, right? Supply of dollar increase. So what you need to do, two things is what you need to do. Either you, here see government measures, namely supply of dollar you have to increase, or demand of dollar you have to decrease. So any measure you see here, restriction on imports. So what happened? Demand of dollar is actually decreased, because when you are importing, you need more dollar, so you demand dollar. Similarly, outward remittances decreased, demand of dollar decreased. Here also contractionary monetary policy, demand of dollar decreased. Now here liberalization means dollar is coming, so supply of dollar increased. Both you can do. So you need to look for options which are satisfying these two conditions. Either it should increase the supply of dollar or it should decrease the demand of dollar. If you get an option which will reduce supply of dollar, that's not correct. If you get an option which will increase demand of dollar, that's not correct. So that is the only thing that you need to check for. So the logic is here, once you get this point, then any option you can get the answer. You don't want to read for this. You can't read all the possible choices. See, just for the sake of writing few sentences, I'm writing it here. Otherwise, once you understood this, either it should be increasing supply of dollar or reducing demand of dollar. Once you get that logic, it's over. The game is over, because it's all about demand and supply. Okay, then ECB ceilings increased, external commercial borrowing ceilings increased. So it will lead to what? Supply of dollar will increase. Okay, so ECB ceilings increased. But what is the disadvantage or the offshoot of this? What will happen is external debt will increase in long term, and external debt means for that you need to pay interest from current account. So current account deficit will increase in long term. That is offshoot, but you have to solve this temporary problem of depreciation of rupee. Then sale of dollar by RBI in forex market. So this also lead to what? RBI is having dollar forex, RBI sell that in forex market, so that also increase supply of dollar. So supply of dollar increase. Here also supply of dollar actually increase. So if you see the first three measures, this is for reducing demand for dollar demand reduced. These three, supply of dollar actually increased, like that. Okay, so that is how you need to interpret this. Then we have signed a currency swap agreement with Japan, so that you don't want to pay in terms of dollar, you can have this currency swap agreement with Japan, so that there is no outflow of dollar. Okay, there is no demand for dollar. So currency swap agreement with Japan, like that. Okay, so this is all about what all things happened. So I hope you understood the session.